Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, August 13th, 2015. I'm Lafern Fraser with the details. As the Unity Labour Party publicly announced official ownership of the building which housed its headquarters for over a decade, the trustees of the $1.2 million property are now questioning how the construction of the NDP's headquarters was financed. At yesterday's relaunch of the ULP's headquarters at the Murrays Road, General Secretary of the party, Julian Francis, claims that at the time the NDP's head office was being built, the financial complex was being constructed and by the same contractor. The NDP was at the time the governing party in SVG with Sir James Mitchell as the country's Prime Minister.
What we are proud of is that we know how we paid for it. Hard-earned money that we used to buy it. The political leader, I'm sure, will speak more to this matter. But like our competitors down the road, that has a very drab building. There are a lot of questions when they acquired their headquarters as to how they acquired it. And we recall the circumstances surrounding the acquisition of that building. And up until today, those questions have not been answered by the NDP as to how they acquired their headquarters. All I will say is that at the same time that the NDP headquarters was being built, the financial complex was being built, and the same contractor who built the financial complex was building the NDP headquarters. That's all I'll say about it. Questions were raised, and nobody gave any answers.
Leader of the NDP, Annem Eustace, today promised SVG-TV News to comment fully on the question raised by the ULP General Secretary about the financing of the NDP headquarters in an interview tomorrow. Leader of the SVG Green Party, Ivan O'Neill, says though he is running his party's election campaign on a very tight budget, his party now has an official headquarters which was launched over the weekend. O'Neill, while not disclosing the cost incurred for rental of and refurbishment work done on the Green Party headquarters building at Mount Pleasant, says he is pleased to make known that he did nothing wrong or illegal to acquire the funds for his campaign and party head office.
How you feel about your new headquarters?
Well, we put a lot of work and effort in. I want to say that I'm operating on a very small budget, although Ralph has been saying, I know the man, I know you don't have money. Well, maybe he know me than I know myself. He said, I know the man, you don't have money, so he wants to know where I'm getting the funding for. But let me say this, the small budget out there is funded by Ivan O'Neill. Ralph Gonsalves, a couple of years ago, went to Brunei. I had worked for the Sultan of Brunei for a number of years in his army as a military instructor, and he went there to ask for money. And the Sultan says, where is Ivan O'Neill? And he didn't have Ivan O'Neill. And I want to tell viewers, Ralph Gonsalves didn't get $1 to come back from Brunei because he didn't take me.
The Green Party leader accuses the ULP of being a copycat by relaunching its headquarters a few days after his launching. Additionally, O'Neill says the Argyle International Airport is a political suicide and adds that the ULP has exhausted all of its plans.
The ULP don't have ideas. I gone out there, set up a party headquarters, open it, and they copied me. They gone downtown too with a few gallons of paint. That's all they've done, a few gallons of paint over the place and reopen to give them strength. They're looking for a platform in which to launch the general election because the Argyle Airport is political suicide for the ULP. They've run out of ideas. What we want to do in this country is to focus on the economy. Let us get the economy right to create thousands of new jobs and to create revenue in our country, because without revenue and new jobs, we're not going anywhere. Don't use the Garifuna issue and other issues to divert attention. Look at the roads they're cutting here. You know where they're getting money from to pay the road? For the people who are walking the road? They're using Argyle Airport to borrow money for the Argyle Airport and use it to pay the workers here because they believe they're full of tricks.
Leader of the ruling Unity Labour Party, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, says his party is ahead of all the other political parties here and will remain in office following the next general elections. Dr. Gonsalves says besides observation, the ULP has conducted research which reveals that the party is leading the political pack.
The Unity Labour Party today is stronger in August 2015 than we were in August 2010. And I will tell you too, the NDP is weaker, far weaker in August 2015 than they were in August 2010. And I want to tell you this, the comrade has a wider lead over Eustace as to whom people prefer to be Prime Minister now than in August 2010. They know that because they're also doing scientific testing of the waters. And everybody knows that we have an excellent slate of candidates.
The ULP leader chided the NDP for what he describes as ingratitude toward founder of the NDP, Sir James Mitchell, and refuted claims that Sir James was enabling him and the ULP party.
Friday in particular, in Beckway, to Sir James, this ingratitude has angered people in Beckway, in the Northern Grenadines, just as how Eustace's ingratitude, you have to be able to say thanks. A man make your career as a public servant for all practical purposes, gives you a seat, makes you a minister of finance, gives you the leadership of the party, and you turn around with such ingratitude because he's questioning certain things, what you are doing inside of the party. You say that he's Ralph Alterboy, that Sir James is Ralph Alterboy. Now what manner of man you're dealing with here?
Leader of the Democratic Republican Party, the DRP, Anicia Batiste, is cautioning her counterparts to be careful with whom they invite on political platforms to speak on their party's behalf. Batiste made the appeal in an interview with SVG-TV News recently, while speaking specifically to the New Democratic Party, which recently held its Welcome Home Garifuna initiative and had persons from the Garifuna diaspora speaking at public gatherings hosted by the NDP. The DRP leader says political leaders must be cognizant not to entertain speakers who address others with disparaging remarks.
Encouraging community spiritedness and togetherness as a people, and not fighting each other because you have this political persuasion and I have this other political persuasion. And we have to be very careful of what we do as political leaders, because when you're going to bring persons to speak on your platform who's going to refer to others as monkeys, and then bring persons who are going to make disparaging remarks about our leaders, whether we like them or not, when you do those things, you can't then tell me that your program and your proposals are nationalistic. It obviously has been tainted by partisan political rhetoric, and people are going to look at that and they're not all of them would be favorable towards it. So if you're nationalistic in your approach, as the DRP is, you have to look at everybody as one. You have to speak about the equality of all under law and the protection of rights and freedoms for all.
100 boxes of books were today handed over to the National Public Library. The donation was made by SVG Counsel General to New York, Selman Walters, on behalf of Martha's Vineyard West Tisbury Library in an effort to enhance the book collection at the local library. According to Walters, the books are the fruits of a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, signed some years ago aimed at strengthening the relationship between New York and SVG.
Basically, the MOU is designed to strengthen the relationship between Martha's Vineyard and St. Vincent and the Grenadines in various ways. For example, the library services. The Martha's Vineyard Island Council would very much like to be of help in strengthening the library services in St. Vincent, hence the donation of 100 boxes of books. We go deeper than that. We are also thinking about training for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as those on the vineyard. I'm talking about reciprocal training, where, for example, certain of our people could be trained on the vineyard in certain areas, for example, in library services and other areas. It is also possible that we can have people from the vineyard come into St. Vincent and the Grenadines to learn of our culture in various ways. For example, there's a very strong connection between Bekwai and the people of the Vineyard because of the history of whaling that those two islands share.
The Counsel General adds that he is in the process of finding ways of using the MOU to provide library workers with training toward the advancement of the library services. Walters adds that he's also seeking employment for nurses in the Vineyard.
And we're also working on the possibility of getting many of our nurses to be employed on the Vineyard. You know that the government has a policy to train nurses for export, and many of our nurses work regionally as well as internationally, and the United States is one of the larger consumers of nurses. We have quite a few of our nurses working in New York and elsewhere. And so we're also looking at the possibility of seeing how we can use the MOU that is signed by us to get some of our nurses employed on the Vineyard.
And Director of the National Public Library, Michelle King Campbell, expressed much thanks for the donation and urges persons to take advantage of the new collection of books.
The staff of the National Public Library appreciates and thanks the people of Martha's Vineyard and especially the West Tisbury Library for this donation of 100 boxes of books to our library. We also wish to thank Mr. Selman Walters, our New York Counsel General, and the arm of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Martha's Vineyard Sister Island Partnership for organizing and arranging these gifts. This donation will certainly enhance our adult and children's collection. At this time, I urge all our patrons and the general public to take full advantage of the influx of this new material. Books will also be distributed to several branch libraries across the island from this shipment. The material will also be used in our book club, story time, and all other services offered here at the National Library. It is hoped that this partnership continues as future donations would be of benefit to library collection development. We wholeheartedly thank you.
18 farmers today received training in the management of citrus crops and the effective control of pests in citrus production at a one-day workshop at the Bayabu Learning Resource Center. The workshop was also geared at equipping the farmers with the skills needed to increase their production of citrus. Agricultural instructor in the Plant Protection Unit within the Ministry of Agriculture, Osborne Laban, says the citrus disease known as citrus greening is now an island-wide problem. He adds that the disease has had a far greater impact on citrus than any other. Laban further notes that citrus production serves as an important source of income for some farmers here, and as a result, the sector must be protected.
We've been having, pests and diseases, more common pests and diseases in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have the aphids, we have, like Phytophthora rat, we have mites, and a lot of other minor pests and diseases that affect citrus. But so far, this is the most important disease that has affected us so far. If we look at, for example, Florida, in 2005 they discovered the psyllid in Florida, and within 6 months about 10,000 to 15,000 acres of their citrus were destroyed by the spreading of the bacterium of these psyllids. So it's a very, very important disease when it comes to citrus, and citrus is not really, I should say, not a major crop in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but the few citrus that we have here, we want to really maintain them and keep them going so that we could at least get some citrus for our own consumption.
Laban is also urging farmers not to hesitate to seek assistance and further information on how best they can go about dealing with the citrus disease.
It's a fairly new disease to the farmers of St. Vincent in terms of their citrus, and we, at least when they see something looking wrong with their citrus out there, they can actually, call the extension offices as soon as possible or the plant protection office, and would react. A lot of farmers have citrus that they sell in the market. It's one of their source of income besides other crops. But the disease of citrus greening is on us. It has been intercepted here about 4 years ago. We are trying our very best to manage the disease because it's a serious problem throughout the world and it's spreading. And we hope that with our future plans in terms of the management of the silage and the citrus greening. We can make a comeback with our citrus and make St. Vincent, a more healthier citrus growing agricultural sector.
And Regional Agricultural Supervisor for Region 3, Leroy Jackson, says there's a great need for better cooperation between farmers and employees of the Ministry of Agriculture in an effort to fully unlock the potential of the citrus industry.
The farming environment in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I think, is a very viable one. It has potential, and it's just mean that we have to develop the network in such a way that we can cover all of our farmers and that we can assist them in development of their business sector, their business enterprise, their crop production, their pest and disease management. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines can do very well. We can provide sufficient food for our own food security. We can assist in rural livelihood. We can have sustainable development, and we can have access for the export market. So I would say that given these scenarios, St. Vincent can do well, and we just have to put all our efforts together, share our resources and our potential, and we're going to have a very good agricultural sector in years to come.
The agricultural supervisor adds that the Ministry of Agriculture is committed to ensuring that citrus crops are grown in the best conditions and that the best possible yields are achieved.
Therefore, extension officers play a significant role in training farmers on occasions like these, expose them to farmer training activities, giving them insights, new knowledge and techniques, and also provide them with new initiatives and innovations and technologies that are essential in the overall production of the crop. We also expose them to seminars, workshops, demonstrations on the farm to see how the techniques are being used and how they can adopt them on their own farm to get the desired results. We also, from the Extension Service, we provide what is called a scheduling of pest and disease control by spraying of tree crops at certain intervals. We assist farmers in the pruning and cutting back of trees and help to manage the pests and diseases that are of critical importance for the overall productivity of citrus production here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Vincentian women are being reminded that the new Domestic Violence Act provides them with bountiful protection against acts of domestic abuse. Lawyer Renee Batiste, while speaking recently at the opening of the National Council of Women workshop on the rights of women and girls, says under the new Domestic Violence Act, the definition of domestic violence is more clearly outlined and therefore offers more protection to victims.
New definition for domestic violence, and I really hope Miss Lady gets the things here from Printry, because it's good that you'll be able to walk through it. Domestic violence means any controlling or abusive behavior that harms the health, safety, or well-being of a person or any child. Any controlling or abusive behavior that harms the health, safety, or well-being of a person or any child, and includes and is not limited and not limited to physical abuse or threats of physical abuse, sexual abuse or threats of sexual abuse, emotional, verbal, or psychological abuse, economic abuse.
Batiste further says economic abuse was once an issue that was difficult to be proven in court, but the new act defines and seeks to protect women and children who are most vulnerable and are likely being exploited because of a lack of finances to meet everyday needs.
This used to be something that was very difficult to persuade a court on economic abuse. It was easier to persuade them in a relationship where there is or was a marriage. Now there's no question about it. Intimidation, harassment, stalking, damage or destruction of property, entry into the applicant's residence without consent, where the parties do not share the same residence. Economic abuse means the avoidance of financial obligations owed to the applicant and child or dependent, including mortgage and rental obligations. Because you know what used to happen in quite a number of the relationships, the man will be paying the rent. And so he doesn't pay the rent the first month because he knows that's one way of having this psychological thing that she's going to have to come back because she didn't want the children on the street.
The parents of children who yesterday received scholarships and bursaries under the Basil Charles Education Foundation are being challenged not to fail their children. Karen Joseph Nero of the foundation, while speaking at yesterday's handing over ceremony, reminded parents that as their children enter secondary schools, they will be exposed to new things, and as a result, every parent must be vigilant, consistent, and dedicated to their children's development.
We want to say, we want you, the parents, to make sure and work with the children. Secondary school will be very challenging. You have to be your child's friend, and if you have any problems, you can always come back here and speak to Mrs. Elizabeth Charles Frederick or myself. I work at the Ministry of National Mobilization. You can come to me, speak to me if you have any issues pertaining to your children's welfare at school. IT is another profession that you can think about. You would be using your computers at school, so I urge you to look into IT, technology, as another profession.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB, today launched its 2015 Financial Information Month theme song and music video. The theme song, Time to Lead, was written by Vincentian Orande Bomani Charles. Financial Information Month is scheduled for October 2015 under the theme Lead, Learn, Empower, Achieve, Develop, and is aimed at alleviating poverty within the region through educating nationals on ways they can better manage and spend their finances. Cultural Officer Anthony Tybalt says he is extremely pleased and filled with pride to know that the chosen Financial Information Month theme song for the region was written by Vincentian artist Orande Bomani Charles.
Writing these things into a way that makes them work, being willing to address the public directly and share these messages where some other people may be shy, providing the contacts. I was able to say that we have a number of people in St. Vincent who have the requisite talent to come up with the jingle, to come up with a song that would serve the purpose of Financial Information Month, and of the set of people that I offered, I was very happy when, against all the people in the Caribbean whose names were offered up, a name from St. Vincent made it to the front, and I was overjoyed.
Representative of the ECCB, Aretha Miguel, says it is their hope that Vincentians will receive and utilize the knowledge that will be shared during Financial Information Month 2015.
All of the activities that we will undertake for Financial Information Month this year would be coming from the topic of lead. So the list of activities, actually we start today at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We have the OECS Business Solutions Think Tank and Hackathon. So then the 22nd of September we have another regional activity, and this is the ECCU Train the Trainers Workshop for teachers. In addition to this, we have presentations to schools, community groups, and the public, the general public, where we engage audiences in interactive and informative discussions and activities that seek to develop their understanding of everyday financial, business, and economic issues important for their overall development.
And writer and producer of the theme song Time to Lead and its video, Bomani, says that he feels honored to have been selected the winner from amongst the numerous regional artists. The artist adds that he chose the genre of power soca for the song since he believes that it is an enjoyable way to spread a positive message.
My
mind creatively went immediately to the power soca genre, which, as we know, is used in all our festival times, carnival, for revelry and fun and get mad and crazy. But I was inspired to use it to show that it can be used to spread positive messages as well. And so the theme of lead, learn, empower, achieve, and develop is spread throughout the verses and choruses of the song to carry that message through this genre that we all know and love throughout the region as power soca.